Alright, hello everyone, and thanks for visiting our video. We are all graduating seniors at CSU Chico, and this video is for a class we're taking in Accounting 551, which is IT Auditing. And in this project we audited SAP, and one part of the project was we had to ask the SAP administrator at our school some questions that we had troubles with through the project. So we hope this is useful for you. And by the way, my name's Tyler Palo, and let's start her off. Alright, question 1. When looking at object S taboo dis, we see that 326 people have authorization to modify tables. User 00 to 99, and also cost 00 to 99, and also IT Audit 00 to 99, and some training and some super users. Why is it necessary to give students authorization to change tables?
So in order to run the transaction, we need that authorization. For the S_taboo dis, I don't know if you guys have looked at that, see what other field entries are. I mean, there are the activities like change, create, but then there's other fields too that relate specifically to the table. So yeah, just having that authorization, it's going to be based on the fields in that authorization. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
And for question 2, if there is no permitted activities under an authorization object, for example S_taboo CLI, cross-client table maintenance, does it mean that people who have this authorization object cannot do anything to the cross-client tables? Or is it better to remove activities than to remove the authorization object from those user profiles?
Each authorization object protects something specific. So I looked at the documentation for this object, and it only protects cross-client tables when you run a specific transaction. So it's only when you're running that's SE31 and SM30. You don't have to write that down. The documentation there, it only protects the cross-client tables when you run those transactions. So if a user was trying to edit a cross-client table using those transactions, then they wouldn't be able to do the activities. But there are other ways to edit cross-client tables, but this only protects it when you're running those transactions. So it's only for that one specifically. And the second part of that was, is it better? Oh, and the other thing is, even if they did have the authorizations to edit those tables, sometimes there are system settings that prevent the user from making those changes too, which we have so that you guys don't mess up. I think it's a matter of personal choice. In my mind, it's better to just remove the activities and leave the objects in there, because usually when the profile is created, the objects that are put in there are related to what you're trying to give to them. So if you leave that object in there, maybe later you can just change the activities rather than trying to find those objects, related objects.
Hi, my name is Lin. I have 2 questions about computers and computing center management system. So question 3, in the computing center management system, why should there be more than one operating mode, specifically a day and night mode?
In normal operations, it is good to have multiple op modes. I don't know if you guys looked at our system. Oh, I'm sure you guys did, but
yeah,
only one op mode.
Yeah.
Well,
and it was on all the time.
Right,
It didn't
it's
stop.
like a normal operating
Yeah.
Well, usually, like in industry, you'll have in the daytime you have a whole bunch of users logged into the SAP GUI, so you have to have a lot of dialogue. Well, do you guys know like the op modes, what that is? Like, there's the different processes. Or
Yeah.
There's like dialogue process to handle the online people online, and then there's other processes like background processes just to handle background jobs. So in our case, we don't have like end of day processes that run because we're not a real industry. We don't have like inventory clearing every day or running sales reports every day. So the amount of background jobs that we run in the evening are pretty minimal. So we have it configured to where there's enough background processes to handle the load. That's why we have one. But normally you want to have more background processes running in the evening, and that's why you want a day and a night operation.
Question 4, when executing report RSUSR002 with transaction code SM01, we as auditors are not on the list of all users who have access to lock or unlock transaction codes. but we still cannot execute SM01. Why is that?
From my understanding of that report, it only checks to see if you can actually run or start the transaction. It doesn't actually check to see if you can successfully use the transaction. So you can. So I think when you run it, it says authorization not allowed.
Yeah, there's a little error message at the bottom. Yeah.
So it actually started the transaction, but there are other objects that are checked to see if you can actually use that transaction. Like I had mentioned that the authorization objects protect parts, like specific things. Well, that RCSR002 only checks like one object to see whether or not you can start it. But after you start the transaction, there's other objects that are checked. If you don't have those authorizations, then it's not going to continue on. And that's the problem you guys are missing authorizations to actually execute that SM01. So it's another object that's failing that you guys don't know.
Hi, my name is Megan, and question number 5 is, who should have access to transaction SM01?
SM01, for the most part, we just have the super users have access to SM01 because we don't want anybody, to lock transactions and, hey, students are like, hey, this is locked. We can't perform our stuff. So just super users, and then in some cases we have some faculty that have also access. It's basically users that have SAPL profile.
Question 6, what is the difference between unlocking a transaction code in SM01 and granting an authorization object?
Well, SM01 allows or prevents the transaction from running regardless of the authorization object. It's kind of like a front door. Like if the SM01 has it locked, then nobody can run it. Like even as a super user, if it's locked, you can't run it. And then if it's unlocked, then theoretically anybody can run it. But when they try to run it, that's when the authorization object or authorization check occurs. So authorizations are so SM01 is system wide, so it occurs on all the clients if you lock it. And then versus granting an authorization object is specific. Usually is specific to a client or a profile. And then I mentioned previously that the authorization object protects certain specific things. So let's say you're running a create material transaction. It's not just going to be an authorization to run that create material transaction. There's going to be other authorizations checked when you try to run that transaction.
Okay.
Like specific to a company code or things like that. Like it'll check to see if you're authorized to work with the company code.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Gina, and this is question number 7. Is the server in CSU Chico the selected application server where a central log file is maintained and where other individual application servers send their local log messages to?
We have all our separate SAP systems, and they have their own logs within each system. And then, I mentioned, right, we don't have like a central area where all the logs are sent. Usually, an SAP system is consisted of the central system, and then there's other servers that are connected to that system. Like there's Warsaw. I don't know if you guys logged into other servers. Like
No, we've only done Warsaw.
Well, it's just Warsaw. Okay.
Just
Usually
Warsaw.
there might be other computers hooked up to Warsaw that you connect to log into the SAP GUI, but it still connects to Warsaw.
Okay.
And those would have local logs that would be sent to Warsaw. But the way our setup is, each SAP system is just one central system.
Okay.
And those are all separate. Or yeah, they're all separate. We don't have the logs sent to each other.
And question 8 is, we noticed that one of the parameter values in report RSPARAM is different from default settings. What does DVEBMG30 mean? Is there any reason if you change the default location of system log file?
What that is it's part of the instance name, and it tells you what sort of processes are run on that server. Like dialog, update, in-queue, background. I don't know. You guys probably don't need to write that down, or you guys should Google it just to see what those mean.
Okay.
And the reason why the default is just D, the D stands for dialog. So if that server only ran dialog processes, it would only be able to serve the people's logging in through the SAP GUI. But because the server that we installed on is the central instance, it's just the main. It has to have all those other services too.
Okay.
So that's why, yeah. I was gonna say, if you guys were gonna be doing like technical stuff, that would be like a total interview question right there. If you're working with SAP, or even if it'd be like, oh, what does that mean? If you don't know what that means, it's like, you must not be working with SAP, right? Technical wise, I don't know if you guys. I mean, they still might ask you that question. So it might be different. But yeah, so our server is running all those other services. That's kind of how you can tell what the server is running, what process is running.
Hi, my name is Manny, and this is question 9. From what we understand, when the current log reaches a maximum size, the system deletes the old log file. Make the previous active file the old file and creates a new active file. Since SAP's system usually does not support the saving of old system log files, do you archive the old system log files yourself?
Logs. And we don't actually archive the old logs. We usually, if we need to look back in the system log, we can just look in there, and the amount that it saves is enough for us to see what we need to see. I don't think we've been ever in a situation where it deleted the stuff that we needed to see in the system log. So we've never really had to archive the old ones.
Okay.
Maybe one time we did. We're like, oh, we can't see what the error said. Well, we'll just have to wait for the next time it comes up, or something like that. But yeah, we've never been in a situation where we really felt that we needed to do that. Plus, we have so many systems we'd have to set up, backing up all those logs. So yeah, we haven't done that.
Question 10. For how long will you keep the log of changes to master data?
Each semester, when a new class comes in, we refresh the client. So pretty much when you refresh the client, it wipes out all the data, including any of the changes. Like you can't see any change data because all the data is going to be gone or refreshed. So pretty much each semester is when that's until the end of the semester, because the whole system pretty much, the client, each of the clients gets wiped. That's how long the data is kept.
Thanks for watching our video.